Good morning, or hello, whatever time it is down your way. I wanted to approach the subject of forgiveness, of grace today, because it's really important word and even more important meaning. And I feel like it comes up time and time again on so many different levels. So what does forgiveness mean to you? Does it mean that you need somebody to say that they are sorry of what they've done or what they've said? Or how it's impacted your life, how it's affected you personally? Is that what forgiveness is revolved around? Does it center around the other person in your life or the other people in your life having hurt you and what they do to correct that? Because for a long time there, I personally thought it was. And so the only way I could come to terms with anything that happened in my life where it impacted my life, no matter how big or small, was to process it as something that I needed to forgive them for. Automatically, I felt like I had to just forgive them. That was that. And then by forgiving it, almost expected it for myself to just go away. And I would wonder why on earth I was a punching bag continually because, I'd forgiven these people, but it doesn't mean that you can keep hurting me, right? For each of us, it's something different. So for somebody else, it will be that they'll lash out or they'll create a shell around themselves or they'll confront the person if they're brave enough one way or another, or they'll write it out to them or something like that. And it also depends on all sorts of variables there again. Like, is it some grace or forgiveness for somebody that bumps into you at the shop, or is it someone who crashes into your car, or someone who takes away your lover, or someone that murders someone close to you, or rips you off, or anything like that. So where I was getting to with it is I think that forgiveness needs to begin with oneself. So I'm sure you would have heard this before, and this is probably more to do with deep-seated issues, things that have been reoccurring in our lives and haunting us for years. The ones that are closer to our heart, whether it's, from people that really mean something to us, or when it gets to the final tipping point, when you got a bucket that's totally full of all these pressures and all this pain and anxieties, and then it gets to the top, and something like a little drop of rain like today can just be enough to just send it a little bit over the tipping point, and then we've had enough. And then we can do something self-destructive, or we can do something that hurts others. So let's for a start perhaps consider making a connection between what it is that's causing us pain in the first place. And that's not always tangible for all of us. Sometimes we'll get some sort of trigger and we're not even aware of where this trigger comes from. But when we're doing something like meditating or praying, if we are just silent and we just observe, just watch things that are coming to the forefront of you, not just emotionally, this is where your mind can come into play. So let your mind bring it out to the surface, those memories, let them be relived, but notice how it's making you feel and connect with it. So every time you feel some emotional connection to it, even if it's just to push it away and say it doesn't exist or it doesn't matter, it's still an emotive response. It's still reaction, yeah? So notice those reactions and hold them quite gingerly and then release them. Do some sort of ritual where you release them. If you can do it aesthetically behind closed eyes, do it that way. Meditation is a really, really useful strategy for this, okay? So is prayer for people too. And for others, it's mantras. For some of us, it's walking, but do not just keep pushing it away. Actually process it. Think about it for what it is. So that's one part of it. The other part of it I wanted to ask you was, have you ever written a letter to yourself, to your former self or your younger self? Now, I like to call it my former self because I've shed layers as I've gone along in my life. And yeah, I guess like a snake or like a cocoon turning into a butterfly, or whatever way you choose personally to process it, that's fine. As long as we are constantly evolving and learning from all those past things. So when you write a letter to yourself, actually make it a mission to sit down, get a piece of paper and a pen. I actually went out and I got myself a $6 pen because I thought it'd be nice to have a nice pen and a blank sheet of paper. And you know what? It was kind of hard. And then once I started, I rambled off into different tangents, as I do. But that's okay too. There is no one size fits all. Just go with it and let yourself flow. And if you're stuck, don't worry about it. Do it tomorrow morning when you wake up, if you can. Just keep on going until you can wake yourself up in the mornings to make time for this and let it out. And you'll find that things will start coming to the surface. So what I wrote to myself was, to my former self, I'm really sorry that I treated you the way I did. I'm sorry that I wasn't emotionally available the times you needed me to be. I'm really sorry that I didn't stand up for you when others were putting you down. I'm sorry that when you were curled up in a fetal position on the floor crying, that I wasn't the one to curl you up into my arms and keep you close and loved and safe. I'm sorry that I didn't help you stand up when you fell down. I'm sorry that I wasn't the friend that rang you up when you needed me to. I'm sorry that I wasn't the one to help you walk away from this person or this circumstance. All those sort of things. They're all the beginnings of peace. And if they're the beginnings of peace and healing, then they're well worth considering, yeah? It's just a thought.